Constitution. But I am probably more, I'm a nutcase when it comes to those things compared to some people in my view. But you'll look at me today and you'll find out I'm not carrying, I don't even have a carry permit. I'm not against them, I'm not for them, but my view is very, I've got a view that probably most people who are even NRA people would say, this guy's too far to the extreme for me and his view. That's my view. It's not how I live. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I live according to the law. I taught that in Sunday school. We ought to live according to the law. If I want to carry, I ought to make sure I'm legally carrying. But the other day, now I'm not taking sides on the children who went out and protested, had their demonstration. The other day, they went out and protested and had their demonstrations. But I asked the question, what if the valedictorian was told you were going to get suspended from school for 2 weeks if you do this? I'm not taking away your right. But if you walk out of that classroom, you are breaking the rules of this school. It costs you. What if we told the schools, listen, you are going to, if you let those children walk out of those classrooms in demonstration because they are not in class when they're supposed to be in class, and we're giving you government money to have them in school, and they're walking out of school, then they are counted absent, and you lose the 17 minutes worth of money funding for that 17 minutes that they're out of class. How many of the schools would have said, hey everybody, go do it anyway? No cost. The civil rights movements of the 1960s and 70s cost people. I tell you, most players would not take a knee if they were told you are fired the second you take a knee during the national anthem. Even if some of them are whining because they can't get a job. They're the ones who made the stand. It costs you to make a stand. It cost these disciples, these apostles, to make a stand. Christian, it'll cost you if you're going to stand for God. Sooner or later, they're going to say, that's enough. No further. You cannot do this. You cannot stand against sin. Now, I am not telling you to go out and make to go out and picket and protest against things. But if you believe you ought to be willing to face the consequences of it. I'm not telling you you ought to go, that the kids shouldn't have gone out of classroom. I don't know. If they had a true conviction, though, they would have gone whether they lost everything or didn't lose everything. They'd have gone whether the school said okay or not said okay. They'd have gone whether they were going to get suspended or not get suspended. And the school would not cower down to them and say, we're going to find a place for you. But the schools do it because they want money. And the love of money is the root of all evil. I'm not saying the kids were wrong. I'm saying we're teaching a society that there's no cause, no consequence when you make a stand. We like David, he won. But what about the apostles? Why don't we hold them up as so great as David when they lost? They were thrown in prison. They were threatened. And you know what they went out and did? They had an overriding authority. Now they appealed for reason. We find that in verse 19 of chapter 4. We find that in verse 19. He said, but Peter answered and said unto them, whether it be right in the sight of God to hearken unto you more than unto God, judge ye. Who are we supposed to obey? Man or God? They appealed for reason. And I said this in Sunday school. You never stand up against something without appealing for reason first. You always try to do it. If there's going to be civil disobedience, you make sure you have tried to do it without that first. But they accepted the retribution. Matter of fact, you'll find they were threatened in chapter 4. But in chapter 5, we can look in chapter 5, verses 40 and 41. we will say, and to him they agreed, and when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded they should not speak in the name of Jesus, and let them go. And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. So what are you talking about, preacher? I'm talking about, they said, I've counted the cost. I'm convinced that it's more important to stand for God and to stand for this cause than it is for me to cower down, even though I've been threatened, even though they're going to throw me in prison, even though they put my Lord to death, even though, and don't think they're the only ones. We know the Apostle Paul. He was thrown in prison and beaten, and finally, when they were trying to just let him go without anything, he said, "Oh no, I appeal to Caesar. You've broken your own laws. I'm appealing to Caesar. Send me to Caesar. I'm a Roman citizen. According to your law, I'm appealing to Caesar." And he ended up going to Caesar. Ended up getting his head chopped off. That doesn't sound very victorious. And he didn't rise again the third day. Now he's resurrected. He's going to resurrect at the end days, the last days. He's sitting in heaven as spiritually right now, because absent from the body, you're present with the Lord. And we know that his soul's with the Lord. And one day his body's going to raise incorruptible. And we know all that's happening. But it didn't happen then. He did not look like a conqueror in combat. Is it worth dying for? Is it worth losing something for? The problem with most Christianity today is they don't have Christianity. They believe Jesus was a good man. They believe he was God. But they don't have a heart that would say, he's everything to me. He is more important than my finances. He's more important than my fun. He's more important than my fame. He's more important than my family. Now, I am not against finances. I like them. How many of y'all against money? Anybody here against having money? How many of y'all like having fun? I don't know what you consider fun, but you like having it. Nobody does not like having some kind of fun. Some of these kids, they do these things, you know. That's what they spend their whole life on, computers and games. Some, like my son, baseball. Everybody likes finance. Everybody likes fun. Most people like people to know them and like them. We like a little bit of fame. We like it. Hey, when people think about me, I like it when they think about me in a good way. And I love my family. Family is a big thing. I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time around my grandparents when I was growing up. But my mom and dad, we were in the military. Mom and dad brought us, at least every other year, we went to the grandparents' house. The grandparents would come to our house. So we tried to see them at least once a year. I try to let my kids see their grandparents more than that. I want them to know their grandparents. I want them to love their grandparents. I want the grandparents to come to our place. I moved to Indiana, and not so I could be closer to them, but it was one of the things that, boy, I'm not wanting to move somewhere farther away. When I lived in Texas, my mom and dad lived in St. Louis. Melissa's mom and dad live in New York. I'm like, when I'm looking for churches and I'm asking God about churches, I wasn't even praying about someplace over in Arizona or nothing. Not that I wouldn't have gone if God would have called me there. I'd have gone to Mombasa or China or anywhere else. It would not bother me none. But I'm trying to tell you, I like family. I don't want my kids to move away. Now I know they probably will. That's their ambitions. My daughter loves Texas. And my son's going to have to go where there's a Major League Baseball team at. And there's not one in Indiana, Cincinnati, or Chicago. Amen. You say, yeah, there's one in Cincinnati, there's one in Chicago. Well, there might be one in Chicago. All right, they got two of them that they call them. And Cincinnati does have a good ball team. I'm not arguing. I'm just kind of making a little bit light there. I'm just trying to tell you, the idea, they're going to move away most likely. I don't want them to. But the truth of the matter is keeping them here. What is important to you? Is the Lord important to you? Is there not a cause? It was not the finances that was David's cause. It was not the female that was David's cause. And I've done some crazy things to impress females, especially that. Because I'm just a wild and crazy guy. But guess what? And freedom is very important. But can I say, Christ is more important than all that. The apostles were willing to give up freedom, willing to give up their families, give up their finances, and become infamous, not famous, infamous in Israel. Paul had fame. He was moving up. Gone. Why? Because Christ is more important. How important is He to you? How important is He to me? I've had to examine that in my own heart. Is He worth it? Can I say I've come to the conclusion? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd rather have Him, Jesus, than anything this world affords today. I'd rather